Hello, Michael Swain here after Kansas football's 45-17 loss to Baylor in Waco, Texas, and that was a disappointing end to what is, in big picture, a disappointing season for Kansas football. Um, Arguably, maybe KU's worst performance of the season, and I think it probably was coming a little bit. You look at what Kansas has accomplished, if you want to put it that way, over the last 3 weeks, beating three straight ranked teams, emotional games, and KU had no juice on Saturday. And that's something that Lance Leipold talked about in his post-game press conference. He felt like, just emotionally that it was a drained team. He took some of the blame for that, saying that he felt like it's on him as the head coach to get guys in a position where they are amped up and ready to play. Clearly, that was not the case. And this performance, I think generally you saw a lot of the cracks that you saw for a lot of the season. Encouraging moments on offense, untimely turnovers on offense, and defensively, just not a lot of those big plays, right? The interceptions, forced fumbles, sacks, those things that you need if you're KU and you consistently down to down aren't a great defense. You need some of those plays to really swing the momentum. And that's exactly what Kansas got in those wins against Iowa State, against BYU, and against Colorado. But those were not there in Waco. And so as a result, KU as a team has a performance that kind of falls flat. And you can look at the numbers big picture, and I can pull these in for you all here. But, you know, you look at it, right? KU has almost 500 yards of offense, but it doesn't mean a whole lot when the other team has 600 and you have multiple turnovers. And that has been the killer for KU this season. Early in the year, right? Jalen Daniels was struggling with the interceptions. That bug comes back and bites him in this game. Two interceptions. You've got the fumble from Tavita Noah up along the sideline, a play that can't happen and shouldn't happen. And it comes at a crucial time for KU, and Baylor is able to get an extra possession out of it, and KU isn't able to score. And that's how you have a game where you put up 500 yards and you score 17 points. It's because of interceptions and turnovers, and KU had that. And you could even go to the first half and the first possession of the game as well and look at the missed field goal that KU had. And it comes after KU runs two wildcat plays and then throws on 3rd and long. Maybe a curious set of decisions on the play calling front. Look, we can always come back and look at play calling when they don't work. If that works and Devin Neal breaks off a touchdown on a wildcat play, then we'll be talking here about how great of a call it was. That's how college football is. And when things don't work, you second guess it. That's just how it is. But you can look at that and say, KU was doing really well with just the traditional offense that they were running. And they end up getting in a spot where it's a decent field goal length for Tabor Allen, who misses the kick. And it's a bad start for KU. Obviously, they bounce back, but that's how you look at some of these numbers, and you get to the point where it is almost a 500-yard performance. Devin Neal rushes for over 100 yards, 133 yards. If you told me going into the game that Devin Neal runs for 133 yards, a touchdown, and Jalen Daniels throws for 280 yards, I would have said, man, that sounds like a pretty good game for Kansas. But again, it goes back to those turnover issues that we saw early in the year, and KU did a good job, I think, of really limiting those in the middle part of the year. And here at the last game of the season for KU, those show up again. So that's the offense. Look, I want to say something about Devin Neal. It's obviously the end of his KU career. Very unlikely that Kansas will end up in a bowl game. There's a whole lot of numbers you can crunch here. It comes down to bowl spots, right? 82 bowl spots. And I think as of today, there were 77 teams that already had 6 wins. And there's a good chunk, I think 17 teams today that entered the day with 5 wins, looking to get to that 6th win. So, well, getting to a bowl game for KU, very unlikely. So it means the end of Devin Neal's career. And what a career it was, I think, for him. I feel fortunate to have been around him. Obviously, I think in some of the interviews you post on YouTube, I think you're able to get grasp of how good of a guy he is, but I think just some of the stuff you see in between interviews at practice, right? You just get a feel for that this was a top tier human who is a top tier college football player and will go down in history as one of the best to ever do it in the conference, obviously at Kansas. And for him, he gets to go out disappointingly so on a loss. but he is someone that had such a great impact on this Kansas program, and obviously did not deserve to go out this way. And big picture for KU, defensively, there were some big issues, and it's a huge contrast to what I think you saw against Colorado. How did Kansas beat Colorado? Well, KU did a great job of stopping the screen game for Colorado, and that takes really good one-on-one tackling. If you would go back and watch some of that Colorado game, if you got a minute today, and if you really want to get into it, go back and watch a little bit of the Colorado game. You'll see guys wrapping up, right? There's a screen pass where Kobe Bryant tackles Travis Hunter. He doesn't just throw his body at Travis Hunter. He throws his arms at him and wraps up and brings him to the ground. I didn't see a whole lot of that against Baylor for the KU defense. I really didn't. It was a lot of guys throwing their body at a Baylor ball carrier and hoping that brings him down or knocks him off balance, or hoping that someone else, comes behind him and cleans it up. And this is a game where it is never a good sign when some of your secondary players are the guys that lead you in tackles. And OJ Burrows led KU in tackles with 11. That's not a good sign. And it's just like how for a long time Kenny Logan led KU in tackles. And that's not a great sign because Kenny Logan is a safety. And that means the offensive players are getting to the third level of your defense before guys make tackles. And today, just the tackling for KU just wasn't good enough. And it's a huge contrast, I think, what you saw over the last couple of weeks where KU is playing much closer to winning football top to bottom. And look, Baylor's offense has been great this year, and we were talking about it on the message board a little bit on Thanksgiving and on Friday. This is an offense that I think generally has outgained opponents about 75 yards per game and like 1.4 yards per play, which is just an insane number. This offense has been really good, and they punished KU, and KU did not play a clean enough game to even have a chance at stopping them consistently. And I'm sure you're wondering, will changes be made? I don't know. If you made me guess, maybe. I'd probably lean yes right now, but those are big decisions for Lance Leipold to make. Brian Borland has been with him for a long time. Is it time for something new? Maybe. Maybe it is, but that's a big decision that Lance Leipold has to make, and it sets the table for what is a huge offseason for Kansas. You look top to bottom. 38 seniors, lower 30s in terms of scholarship players. There are a lot of guys who contributed to Kansas, whether it be as starters or even depth pieces, that are going to be gone now. And KU has to find a way through the portal, through internal development, to develop that depth again, right? That's something I think that Lance Leipold has talked a lot about. I think we've talked about it on the podcast too, that this team has become deeper over time. And this offseason is going to be a huge challenge for Kansas to continue to develop that depth and replace a lot of the players that have made this current era of Kansas football what it is. And it's going to be busy. KU's going to have a lot of spots. We're talking teens in terms of available scholarships for the transfer portal. And it's going to be a massive, massive month and a half really for Kansas, because you're going to go the month of December kind of into the second week of January. Third week of January is when the enrollment period is going to start to come to a close for the University of Kansas. That's when transfers can stop arriving, at least for the spring football and getting, doing all the winter conditioning and stuff like that. So it's going to be a busy time ahead, and it's an interesting time for Kansas football where the season comes to a disappointing end, obviously, for people around the program, for the players, coaches, obviously for fans like yourself. It's not what Kansas wanted. But now the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks are really going to determine, hey, what is this 2025 season going to look like? And it's going to be the first season in a new football stadium. And that's what you got to think about too here. You're opening a new stadium next year. You want to call it renovated. It's going to be new. They tore the thing down, or 2/3 of a new football stadium. You want to start that on the right foot and keep the momentum going. And that's what makes this offseason so fascinating. So look, as always, we'll have you covered. Like, there's going to be a lot that's going to go on. We'll keep you in the loop on what myself and other people on our network are hearing. And it's going to be a wild offseason. So thanks as always for watching these videos. They've been a lot of fun to do this season, obviously. Not the way I think everyone would have expected going into the year myself, right? I think my prediction going into the year was like 9-3 or 10-2. Very wrong. I will wear that, but it's going to be a fascinating offseason. And I think college football these days, right? 12-month-a-year sport. I've said that before. and that will continue to be the case. And so we'll always keep you covered at fog.net. Yeah, thanks always for watching. Make sure you're liking the YouTube videos, subscribing to the channel. It feels weird to do one of these in my office here, obviously with basketball season. We'll keep doing these for road games, home games, all that good stuff. Plenty of content, as always, coming to you on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe, like the videos, drop a comment, and we'll talk to y'all later.